Hello, Scruff-tards. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And I had a lovely evening and night leading up to this morning. Kids vomiting. Wow, no sleep. And here I am forced to stay at home with the kids. So it is what it is. There may be some background noise, and having a morning coffee, doing a video while the kids are trying to enjoy some television. Anyway, I figured why not make a video and talk about how Ukraine might fix things in Kursk with a tactical withdrawal, repositioning troops to sort things out. But truth be told, as we will see towards the end of the video, I'm more leaning towards Ukraine leaving Kursk entirely, unless they can actually relocate forces to deal with the Russians that are threatening their supply lines. So let's take a look. So here we have my Kursk 73's map. As you can see, extensive Russian gains over the last 48 hours, 24 hours. What is happening? This is not Russia overrunning Ukrainian positions. Ukraine is in actuality falling back, surrendering positions, and Russia is following. And why is this? Well, it is because Russia has cut the supply lines down here. They're threatening to move in and cut the supply lines over here. And they made a move here at Lebedevka. And as you can see, Russia has moved into Kubatkin. And that puts strain on the Ukrainians in the north. And they now have to fall back south to avoid being cut off and surrounded and isolated. The question is, will Ukraine defend Sudzha? Well, if all of these units up here fall back and can deal with the Russians in this valley, that opens up logistics, then they can defend Sudzha. If Russia can hold on to this valley, Ukraine can't defend Sudzha. Because Ukraine at that point can only rely on this highway here. As you can see, there are no places to hide. It's wide open ground. Anything is a wide open target, easy for Russian drones to hunt down, easy for artillery to target the larger columns of vehicles. So if Ukraine can only rely on this highway between Yunakivka and Sudzha for logistics, they can't hold the city, the town. So then they will have to abandon it. If they can't secure this valley, then they can bring in supplies through here up so, and from south here from Sapsulia, Gornal, Guevo, and up this way. So all the troops falling back, if they can deal with the valley, then yes, then Ukraine can hold Sudzha. Otherwise, Ukraine will have to abandon Kursk altogether, essentially. And if we take a look at my map, I haven't really pointed out that this is under Russian control yet, but as we can see here, according to my Kursk 73, Russia has moved into Sasulevka. They're right outside Kubatkin, and it's a narrow stretch of land where Ukraine can move their forces through from the north. And since they are here, I mean, what's left? This road here, maybe wide open territory, another road here. Again, easy targets. Ukraine can't do much to avoid getting shot at or hunted down by drones. So if Russia has pushed through here into Sasulevka and Kubatkin, any Ukrainians still up here in the north are essentially cut off. Now, Syrskaya said that there is no risk of Ukrainians being surrounded in Kursk, which probably means that they have fallen back in the entirety from the north, and that is why Russia is moving in to Kubatkin, because there are no Ukrainians left. We know they have been bombing, detonating some of the bridges here in Sudzha to prevent Russia from crossing. But unless they do something about this valley right here, as you can see here, you have the supply lines, then there's nothing they can do. Then Russia controls the supplies leading into Sudzha. Ukraine has this one highway here that, you know, Russia can easily lock down with drones and with artillery and airstrikes. And then you're going to have every destroyed vehicle along this road becomes an obstacle. You're going to have bottlenecks, you're going to have gridlocks, and everyone's a sitting duck. It's just not, it's not happening. Russia is pushing. Russia is having trouble here at Nevenke. They are having trouble at Suravka and here in the middle. They are trying to push through to Basivka and Bilovodu, but Ukraine is, you know, holding the line, and have been for a week or two now. Russia is struggling to push further south. For good reason. Ukraine knows that they can't let Russia into Basivka, because then they're right on top of the Lokhnia and the highway here, as well as really close to Yunakivka itself. So I don't think we will see a big battle for Sudzha as long as Russia is holding this valley. Maybe if as Ukraine falls back from the territory here, then they can send down troops to this valley and push Russia out. Then it's a different situation. And I mean, if you watch my videos, I've been talking about this since Kursk began. The river system here, that is the protective barrier that Ukraine must hold, and that they can afford losing territory outside of the river. And as we saw, when Russia gained access here, I said this multiple times, I was so worried about the push here, close to the town here. And here we see the end result, Russia pushing up this valley, cutting off the supplies, the logistics. They got within the river systems, and that became a massive threat that now affects the entire operation. If Ukraine can push Russia back across the river, contain them here, then they can hold on to this part of the Kursk, they can hold on to Sudzha for a couple of months more, maybe 6 months more. But it's going to be difficult, and they really need to address this fact here. They are in control of this area, but this is where they really need to push Russia back at the moment. So yeah, I mean, Ukraine can fix the problem. It's not going to solve it. It's going to fix it temporarily, and basically that is what the entire Kursk operation was all about from the beginning. I might do another video about that, how what the plan was and how Ukraine never could have held territory. I mean, basically another video repeating what I've been saying for 6 months. But what can Ukraine do? Well, fall back, focus forces on this valley, push Russia back, then they can secure the river, as we've been talking about. They need to make sure they can hold Lebedevka and Sverdlikovo. It's gonna be difficult. I mean, as you can see, Russia's crossed the river up here at Lebedevka, at Sverdlikovo, down here at Krylovka, the hotspots I've been warning about for months. This is why I don't think Ukraine can hold Sudzha. But if they fall back and deal with the valley, can contain Russia up here, contain them at Nevenke, then yes. What I think will happen, though, is that Ukraine will, over time, fall back in the next week or two, and then come down here within Ukraine and defend Yunakivka and all the smaller towns, as well as Myropilya is a large town, as you can see when we zoom in, together with Sapsilia. And so focus defenses here. This is going to be a defensive anchor. Yunakivka will be a defensive anchor, and then they will fortify the woods that are excellent defensive positions for the Ukrainians between the Kursk border and Sumy. They're going to have to be wary of Russian maneuvers over here. Question is if Russia wants to push through here. They have roughly 50,000 troops in Kursk. Will they continue towards Sumy, or will they be happy with pushing Ukraine out and then allocating those forces down to Kharkiv or wherever? We'll see what happens. Chances are, though, I think Russia will apply pressure within Sumy Oblast just to tie Ukrainian forces in place up here. Would be my guess. They don't want these elite units to move down to other parts of the battlefield, especially since Ukraine is actually having success of late. If we head on over to, I think Deep State is a good choice here. I mean, here we can see how Ukraine is actually pushing Russia back north of Kupiansk, even though Russia has had successes here at Dvorichna. Sorry, quick edit. Russia has had successes at Dvorichna crossing the Logistical River, but as you can see, Ukraine is slowly pushing the Russians back here at Kupiansk. Going further south, we all know how Ukraine is pushing into Toretsk. They've recently had gains in this part here. They are close to encircling a couple of pockets of Russians within the town. It's a big move. They secured the intersection here, even though Russia is pushing up northeast. And of course, over at Pokrovsk, they have pushed into Lysivka and Dashensky, Pishane, obviously, Kotlyne famously, and Uspenivka. And also, if we head on over to Mayakovsk 73, I'll show you. Take a look. We are pushing in, or Ukraine is pushing into Shevchenko. They have taken prisoners of war in the middle of town of Shevchenko, marking these fields as under Ukrainian control. That's just bullshit. I mean, who's in control of an open field? They have pushed in along this windbreak, along this street, taken these buildings here in the outskirts of town, and they are now taking prisoners of war in the middle of the town of Shevchenko. So, quite clearly, Ukraine is having success along the front line at certain locations. So, all things combined, I mean, I think that is in part due to Russia being forced to allocate some 100,000 troops in total over time here in Kursk. And that has weakened other parts of the front line. I will go into more details later on in a different video later tonight is my plan. And also, I mean, now with Trump putting the dagger in the back of Ukraine as all of this is happening, it's such a betrayal. Anyway, I think since Ukraine is having successes in the south at locations, Russia doesn't want these elite units to be moved down there to exploit the fact they are going to push in towards Sumy to lock the Ukrainian forces in place up here and deny them. Maybe we'll see some of the more high-end elite units, the 47th and the 21st. They may be moved down to other parts of the battlefield, but large numbers of Ukrainians will be stuck up here defending these woods and denying Russia a chance to push on through towards Sumy. That would be my guess. And there you have it. Doom and gloom for the most part. Slight opening that Ukraine could turn this around Sudzha. But like I said, I've been saying it for months that this was in reality inevitable. It was just a matter of, the question was how long Ukraine could prevent it from happening. But on the flip side, we are seeing Ukraine pushing back along the front line at the key locations, actually. And I'm convinced that Kursk is part of it. Russia forcing in total 100,000 troops to Kursk and suffering horrendous casualties, 40%, is why Ukraine is now able to push back elsewhere. But yeah, we'll take a look at all of it in a second video later tonight is my plan. As always, go på marsch Ukraine and give them hell.